Okay, so we're about to dive into a book that's often called the book behind all other books, Genesis. From the biblical point of view, this isn't just the start of some story. Nope. It's the very foundation for a narrative that stretches from before the universe even existed to long after it's gone. Let's find out why it's considered so fundamental.
As humans, we grapple with a couple of really big questions. The first one is this: what has gone wrong with our world? You felt it, right? We live in a world that is just stunningly beautiful, but at the same time, it's obviously broken. The book of Genesis claims it has the answer to why.
This slide really puts the sheer scale of the Bible into perspective. Think about your average history book. It kicks off with, say, early civilization and pretty much ends with us. But the Bible's timeline, it's just on a whole different level. It starts before the universe and wraps up beyond it. The source we're looking at calls this history written from God's point of view.
So, what is Genesis, really? At its heart, it's the book of origins.
I mean, the name itself, Genesis, comes straight from the Greek word for origin. But get this, its original Hebrew name was even more straightforward. Back then, they often named books by their first few words, so this one was simply called In the Beginning. You can't get more direct than that. And the sheer scope of what it talks about is, frankly, staggering. We're not just talking about the origin of the universe, or life, or us. It also gets into the very beginnings of our most fundamental social building blocks: marriage, family, even things like government and culture. And maybe most important of all, it claims to tell us the origin of all of that brokenness, the origin of sin and death. And these origin stories, they tap right into our deepest questions, don't they? Where did we come from? Why are we even here? And the one that gets all of us eventually, why do we have to die? The argument here is that science and philosophy are incredible at explaining the how of our world, but they can't really touch the why. Genesis claims to step right into that space and give us the answers. Which brings us to a super important point. Genesis isn't just the first book in the lineup, it's the foundational book. The source material uses this really cool metaphor for it. It calls Genesis the seed plot of the Bible. The idea is that every single major theme you'll find later on, things like redemption, judgment, faith, every one of them has its roots right here, planted like a tiny seed in the book of Genesis. You can see exactly how it all fits together here. Genesis is the bedrock. The rest of the Old Testament builds on top of that history, those promises. And the New Testament? Well, it depends completely on Genesis. I mean, if you take away the story of Adam, the story of Christ just loses its entire context. It all links back. And this is where the whole thing becomes incredibly personal. The source makes this point that when you read about Adam's struggle, that pull between wanting to do the right thing and messing up anyway, you're basically looking in a mirror. It's not just his story. It's presented as the story of every single one of us. Okay, so now let's look at how the very first sentence of the Bible is framed as a kind of quiet challenge to a lot of our modern isms. It all starts with these four simple words. In the beginning, God. Now notice what it doesn't do. There's no long argument trying to prove God exists. It's just stated as fact, as the starting point for everything. God doesn't show up here. He's already there. And with that one single statement, whole philosophies get addressed. To atheism, which says there's no God, it just says God. To polytheism, the idea of many gods, it presents one unified creator. And to deism, the idea of a clockmaker God who winds the universe up and just walks away, it presents a God who is active and involved. He created. So this creation account isn't some chaotic, random accident. Not at all. It's presented as this masterpiece of structure and purpose, a story of perfect order being brought out of chaos. This slide shows that structure so clearly. The 6 days are laid out in these two perfectly parallel sets. On days 1, 2, and 3, God is forming the different realms: light, sky, land. Then, on days 4, 5, and 6, he goes back and fills those exact same realms. It's this beautiful symmetry. First you form, then you fill. First preparation, then purpose. Now, within this elegant structure, there's one number that holds a really special place: 3. It signals these moments of pure, from-scratch creation. You see, the original text uses this specific Hebrew word, bara, which means to create something totally new, out of nothing, only 3 times. The first time is for the creation of matter itself, the universe. The second is for the creation of conscious life. And the third and final time is for the unique creation of humanity in the image of God.
These are the three acts that the text implies only God can do. So, what's the big idea here? What does this all add up to? Well, Genesis is presented as way more than just a story. It's a revelation about reality itself. And this is such a key distinction to make. The point here is that Genesis was never meant to be read like a science textbook that explains the how of creation. Its purpose is theological. It's trying to reveal the who and the why behind everything. And if you accept that who and why, the implications are absolutely massive. It means that life isn't just some cosmic accident, it actually has meaning. It means history isn't just a random chain of events, it's going somewhere, it has a purpose. And most importantly, if you know what went wrong, you can start to believe it can be made right. Redemption isn't just a hope, it's a possibility. Which brings us right back to the very beginning. In the beginning, God. The ultimate argument here is that this isn't just how a good story starts. It's presented as the foundational statement of reality itself, the bedrock upon which everything else, from our meaning to our morality, is built. And so at the end of the day, we're left with this huge, provocative question. When you read the book of Genesis, are you reading an incredible product of ancient human imagination, a brilliant myth to make sense of the world? Or are you reading a divine revelation, an account from the only one who was actually there to see it happen? That's the choice it ultimately leaves you with.